Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Today I'm here for Mercy Tiara Kits, and I'm going to be creating a 12 by 12 layout featuring the June 2024 release called Sunshine. This kit combines products from Pink Fresh Studio, Echo Park Paper, Doodlebug Designs, and more. Here's my narrowed down selection. The pattern paper is from two Pink Fresh Studio collections, Picture Perfect and The Simple Things. There's also paper from Bella Boulevard and Doodlebug. The embellishments are from Echo Park Paper and Pink Fresh Studio. And I'm going to be using bits and pieces from the Sunshine main kit and embellishment add-on. This kit is sunny, bright, and beautiful. And if you want a closer look, check out my unboxing video. I will put a link to it below, along with links to the Mercy Tiara Kits shop, Instagram, and Facebook group. So let's get started. You can see what's on my desk. I prepared a frame style foundation page in advance with 3 sheets of paper. I gutted 2 of them. There is a tutorial on my channel where I explain how to do that. So that's going to be listed and linked below. I'm just showing you 2 chunks of paper that I gutted from behind my foundation page. I will definitely be using that. I also have some scraps of paper, and these are bigger pieces of paper. That vellum that I just showed you is from Doodlebug Designs. It's really, really nice. It has like these little teardrop embossed images on top of it. Now here's my embellishment tray. I'm showing you a handful of fussy cut flowers. I cut those out at the beginning of the month with one of the papers that was in the Sunshine kit. It was from Echo Park Papers, My Best Life collection, and I also die cut some leaves with some green cardstock from my stash. I just showed you a narrowed down selection of ephemera and chipboard. Both were from Echo Park Papers, My Best Life collection, and these alphas, stickers, and chipboard that I just showed you, all from Pink Fresh Studio. So what you see on my desk here is one chunk of that blue paper. Again, I gutted it from behind the foundation page. I did make it a little bit more narrow, so I trimmed a little piece off, and that is going to be the base of a grid. So right now I have 3 photos that are matted in white cardstock. 2 are identical in size. One of them is smaller. So what I'm basically going to do is fill in the rest of this blue diagonal check paper, which is from Bella Boulevard, by the way, and I'm going to fill it in with papers and basically embellish it. The first thing I'm going to do right now is cut myself out some paper. So I'm starting by cutting myself out 2 blocks of paper, and basically that's going to create a line at the top of that blue paper and at the bottom. I am doing it in 2 different prints. So one of them is that quilt print. You just saw me cut it out a minute ago. And this one is in a text print. They are from 2 different Pink Fresh Studio collections. So I'm just trimming them down. In a minute, I'm going to show you that for the one with the text print, I'm not actually happy with it. There are rows of writing, and you're going to see, I show you the top row of words is fully intact and the bottom isn't quite, or vice versa. It's one or the other. I can't see the screen here while I'm editing. Anyway, I leave it as is for a while, but later on you're going to see I replace that. What I want to do right now is cut some paper to fill in that spot in the middle. So I'm going to cut 3 strips of paper in 3 different pattern papers. They're all going to be different lengths and different widths. I kind of want to create a shelf there or a border in the middle just to fill in that space. I will put measurements on the screen for what I'm doing, but I'm kind of winging it right now. For example, with this text print, there are lines of words. I want there to be 3 lines of words. That's what determined the width of that particular strip of paper. So you can see I've got them all there, kind of lined up in the middle, but they're really bumped up towards the right edge of the paper. Now what I want to do before adhering anything is add ink to all of these pieces of paper. And I'm showing you there with those little scraps on the side. I tested it before I decided to do it. The ink I'm using is Morning Mist by VersaFine Claire, and I'm doing it with a really light touch. This is a gray ink. I don't want to have a big gray, inky look about this page, but I just want to kind of tidy up the edges a bit. So I continued inking off camera, and while I was off camera, I cut out another one of those blocks, that one that was at the bottom of the page that was bothering me with those rows of words. Now what I'm doing is adhering the blocks to the top of this blue block and the bottom. So you see me doing it at the top now, and all I'm thinking about when I'm adhering them is just maintaining an equal margin to the edge of that blue block. That's it. So I do it at the top, then off camera I do it at the bottom, and now what I'm going to do is adhere that blue block to the foundation page, and then I will adhere those strips of paper. I'm also showing you that for the photo that's going to go on top of the block at the top of the page, I did not adhere that quite yet, because what I'm going to do with those two smaller blocks, that's basically where most of my embellishing is going to go. So right now I'm fussing way too long to place this blue block in the middle of the page. So you can see it's not a perfect square, so it is basically not as wide as it is long. So I continued fussing with that off camera, and now what you see me doing is adhering those strips across the middle. So obviously I'm starting with the big one, and then I'm kind of staggering the other two. So I'm placing that, I'm a little bit tongue-tied right now, but I do not want to start over again. So I'm placing that text print down, then the rainbow stripe on top of it. Again, I am aware of those lines of words, so I just made sure that the top line of those words on that text print was visible above that rainbow stripe. Now what I'm going to do is work on each one of these blocks, the smaller blocks, one at a time. That's going to be where most of my embellishing is going to go. Off camera, I did my journaling, printed it out on the computer, and I'm going to put it in one of those chipboard frames. I showed you that a moment ago. I'm also showing you that my title, I have it on wax paper. It's going to be Our Adventure. I'm thinking of placing that on those strips in the middle. Now I'm showing you my other embellishments. Again, I have a handful of fussy cut flowers from that Echo Park paper from My Best Life. I've been using it all month long, including my die cut leaves that I did at the beginning of the month with two old leaf die sets that were in my stash. I have some chipboard and ephemera from Echo Park Papers, My Best Life collection on that tray as well. And I have my cardstock stickers and those frame stickers. Those are chipboard from Pink Fresh Studio. I also have two blue papers there. One of them is a paper from Bella Boulevard. I've already used it on the layout. And that top one is Vellum. That's from Doodlebug. So I'm placing my title there, but I'm not quite sure how it's going to go. It's either going to go on one line or one word above the other. I still have time to think about that, but I do know that it's going to go there, and it's going to have a fairly significant impact on the page because of its color. It's like this dark green, or almost a dark teal green. So right now I'm going to work on the bottom block, and I'm starting by placing that chipboard frame, which was from that Pink Fresh Studio chipboard set, and I am placing it on top of that white cardstock. Now I'm just coming in and trimming it with my scissors. I do place it on that block that's at the bottom, but there isn't much of a contrast between the frame and that paper block. So what I'm going to do is cut myself a piece of this blue paper, again from Bella Boulevard. It's already all over my layout, but I'm going to trim myself a little block which measures basically 1/4 inch larger than the frame. So I'm basically matting the frame like I would a photo. I'm happy with that, so I'm adhering my journaling frame on top of that blue paper or turquoise paper there. Now what I'm going to do is start layering up embellishments in and around that frame. So I have a tag there that was part of the ephemera pack from Echo Park Paper. I snip it off and I have it kind of sticking out to the left of the photo, but there's not much of a contrast as well because it's white. So I'm looking for other elements to put underneath, and I have like half a label. I used the other half on a previous layout, and I really like how that looks, so I kind of tucked it underneath basically that big blue block, and I'm happy with that. Now you can see I'm working on the opposite side. So I came in with some of those leaves that I had die cut at the beginning of the month. Those big bushy leaves, by the way, the die I had used was an older one from Stampin' Up called Forever Flourishing Dies. I use it all the time. So what I'm going to do right now is adhere those leaves down using that adhesive, which is called Sticky Specs. It's basically an adhesive for detailed die cut pieces. Then I adhered my frame with the journaling on top of it. Then what I'm going to do is adhere a few of those fussy cut flowers as well. At this point, I decide to tuck in the other half of that tag. As you recall, when I put the tag on the left-hand side of that frame, I had snipped off a bit. There are words there. It's like happy little moments. So for the time being, I actually adhere it sticking out the other side of the frame. That stays there for a while, but later on you're going to see I remove it. So you can see I've come in, I've adhered a few flowers. I'm tucking in the tip of that tag there. At this point, I'm liking it, but again, throughout the process, I change my mind. Now I'm wondering if there's anything else I should be adding here. Now, when I make these grid layouts like this, I do like to do one block at a time. At the same time, I do like to reserve my finishing touches for the end because it's a great way to tie everything together. At this point, I'm coming in with a few more of my die cut leaves, the smaller ones. The die set I used at the beginning of the month to create those leaves was a stitched leaf die set from Lawn Fawn. Now at this point, I know I want some finishing touches at the bottom, but what I'm going to do is start working on that block in the top right. So right now what you saw me do was cut a piece of vellum. So I'm just cutting a chunk of it. Now what I'm going to do is tear the bottom. I'm using a tearing tool from Creative Memories. It's still way too big for that. So what I'm going to do is cut that down, and I'm just going to kind of layer the vellum a bit, one piece on top of the other. I really love the look of torn vellum, and I find it's a fun way of adding texture to embellishment clusters. And this is a really fun way of just adding interest to this grid. At one point, I cut that vellum in two, and then I took one of them and tore the top of it. So there's kind of some torn edges there. They're layered up a bit. Now what you see me doing is adhering them behind the photo, and that just adds fun texture and interest to that block because that photo is the smallest on the page. Now what I'm doing is creating a little cluster coming out from behind that photo. So once again, I'm coming in with one of those bunches of die cut leaves, and then what I will do is adhere those leaves underneath the photo. And then actually I'm doing the same thing with a flower. That's coming out from underneath the photo as well. And now I'm adhering it on top of it. Again, I know I'm going to want finishing touches, but at this point, I'm pretty landed at the point where I have to adhere my title because it is green. It has kind of a dark color, so it certainly has an impact on the page. I decide I'm going to put "our" on top of the word adventure. Now I'm going into the sticker sheet, and there's these long strips, including a banner that has strips on it. And I'm thinking I might like it there to add more banners to those long strips of paper in the middle. In the end, I decide to go with just one of them, and I'm placing it so that I can put adventure right on top of it. I'm not sure if I like it or not, but then I'm really in a playful mood right now, so I just stick it down anyway. And now what I'm going to do is start adhering adventure. I'm going to start on the far right and kind of work backwards. I find that's a great way of ensuring my word ends exactly where I want it to end, because I want it to be really close to the right edge of the page. I continued doing that off camera, and now what you see me doing is, oh, I know what I did. I went into the sticker sheet. There was another long strip there, and on it it said, do more of what makes you happy. And that really makes sense for these photos. This is me with my husband and a friend out on a nature walk. My friend's not in these photos right here, but she will be on the accompanying page. I trimmed it down a bit because I really wanted it to fit on top of that banner, and I'm really quite happy with how that looks. At this point, I'm starting to think I need to, tidy things up a bit. I decided to remove that tip of the tag that said happy little moments, and instead I found myself a little round frame. It was part of that chipboard frame set. I'm thinking I want to back it in some paper. I'm testing out different papers. I decide to do it in the vellum as well. I'm kind of off camera, but with scissors, I'm just cutting myself a little piece of vellum to stick behind that that round frame. And in the middle of that, I'm going to put a little piece of ephemera that is from Echo Park paper that has a little heart in it. And I do like that better, so I end up just kind of sticking that more or less underneath those flowers and on top of the frame there. I am going to come in with a few more finishing touches. I do end up adding a few leaves as well and a few more flowers there. You see me kind of tucking in a few more fussy cut flowers at the top. I had to stop my camera there. My entire tripod fell on my head, so I cut that out. But I'm just now continuing what I was doing. I'm tucking in a few flowers and a few extra leaves. I end up putting one more flower down beside that tag, which is just at the bottom left of the page. I'm coming in with a few more of those leaves there, the ones that I had cut out from the die from Lawn Fawn. Again, I did that at the beginning of the month, but every Mercy Tiara Kit video I did this month, I've been using those die cut leaves and the fussy cut flowers. I really got my money's worth out of that one piece of paper from Echo Park paper. I am pretty much done here. Like, I do have to play around with that cluster at the top where you see me playing right now. I felt like that cluster was too big and almost like this giant flower was popping out behind my giant head. It just looked a bit weird to me. So I know off camera I'm going to have to tweak that one a little bit. And now you can see me kind of tweaking the cluster by the journaling box, basically adding a few more leaves in that area. So at this point at the very end, I know I want to work on that cluster at the top, and I also know I want to add something to that tag, a little bit of twine. I do decide to come in and add a few staples just to the right of that title along those banners there. Sorry about my head, but you will see that in this close-ups at the very end of this. So now what I'm going to do is just do those tweakings, and here it is, my finished layout. So this is a really busy grid, but it was really fun to create. Off camera, I ended up pruning the leaves in that journaling box area at the bottom. I just lightened it up a bit. I liked it better. And I actually took a few of those leaves and one more fussy cut flower and placed it just above the title. And that ended up adding a hint of a third cluster on this page, creating a visual triangle. I also took that cluster at the top that was bothering me and made it a little bit smaller simply by tucking it beneath the photo. I also added one more staple to that area as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be honored and thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very much. Make sure you check out the Mercy Tiara Kits shop, Instagram, and Facebook page. Take care, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.